Sunday, Sunday, Sunday. But Saturday, June 25th, we gonna get it. It's gonna be Showtime against One Time. Now, I didn't know Sean Porter had so many fans. Like, I like Sean Porter. Don't get me wrong. I like Sean Porter. He's a stand-up dude. He seemed like, a stand-up dude. Kenny Porter, he's trying to sell matches, so I'm not mad at him. Like, to a degree, you have to understand that some of these people that we see in these interviews, that's not really who they are. They have to come across as a certain way to allow for hype. They need to hype the fight. You got to sell the fight. So, funny thing. So Kenny Porter trying to sell the fight, like, yeah, we was in we was in Keith Thurman camp when he had to fight Madonna. And yeah, he was getting that work. And this guy talking crazy. Yeah, he was running. Nigga, one time he turned his back completely to Sean and was running away. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, all right, you trying to sell the fight. I get you, but right now you're really like, you taking it to a way like we not friends. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like the Porters and Keith Thurman, they friends. You know what I'm saying? Like, he invited you to his camp at a point where, I'm gonna assume you was a lesser known fighter. You know what I'm saying? You was on the come up or however that go, but he invited you to his camp. He gave you a payday. And this is how you reward him? Like, you wonder why Mayweather don't beat, you wonder why Mayweather has fought a lot of the fighters. Remember Mayweather was getting a lot of flack because he wouldn't fight black fighters? They was like, oh, he's always fighting, fighters who aren't black. Mayweather was getting a lot of BS over that. A lot of BS. Like, they was going hard on Mayweather over that. But then look how the black fighters act. He invited you to his camp. How a dude gonna be putting money in your pocket, inviting you to his camp? He could get somebody else. Inviting you to his camp. And not only did he invite you to his camp, but he also had you on the second half of his workout. So he'd do 4 or 5 rounds against this individual, and then he'll have you come in and do the second half of his rounds for, whatever that training period was. So he's inviting you to come in, and he's not even inviting you to come in for you to, he's helping to keep you in shape, because that's how these boxers stay in shape. When they're not fighting, they go to other people's camps. They get paid for that, and they get to work out. They get to stay in shape, and they're getting paid to just stay in shape. You feel what I'm saying? So he inviting you to his camp, giving you a payday, giving you a forum to work out in, also for you to stay prepared and ready for whenever your next fight is going to be scheduled or however that go. And what do? You turn around after the fact and start talking trash about how you hemmed them up in a sparring match. Now, first of all, for y'all that don't know, no one goes into sparring and decides that they're going to fight this like it's a heavyweight championship bout. Okay? And I said heavyweight on purpose because heavyweights is more sluggers. So nobody's going in the fights thinking this. I'm going in, oh man, this is my opportunity in this sparring session to knock him out in 3. Like, nobody's thinking this. That's retarded. You go into the sparring session and you're working on stuff. So you might call five guys in that you want to work with in sparring, right? So you get 5 guys that come in, and what you're going to probably do is you're probably going to have each one of these 5 guys be dudes that are doing something. It's something that they do that you want to work on for your next fight. So you might have a guy like Sean come in. You might be thinking you're going to get smothered, because Sean loves smothering. That's his favorite thing. He's the smotherer. So you might have Sean come in because you feel like the guy that you're going to be fighting against is going to be putting so much pressure on you. And the reason why I call Sean a smother fighter, not a pressure fighter really, is because when you're a pressure fighter, you put pressure on. But like, look at Madonna, right? Look at the Madonna Floyd first fight. When Madonna got Floyd on the ropes, he was tearing him up. He was just tearing Floyd up. He'd get him on the ropes, and then he'll step back and get distance, and then he'll start mauling. Now, when Porter gets you on the ropes, he doesn't step back and get distance. Porter gets you on the ropes, you're just on the ropes. Y'all wrestling now. That's what's going on. There's a whole bunch of wrestling and almost headbutts. That's what's going on. Like, he doesn't know that when you got the guy pinned, you have to step back to allow for your punches to be effective. He doesn't do this. He just smothers you, and then he smothers his own work. That's what he does. So you gonna fight against somebody who's a pressure fighter or a smotherer, then you gonna bring Sean Porter into your camp. So I'm assuming he's fighting Madonna. Madonna's a pressure fighter, so you bring Sean into the camp. The reason why I think Sean was let go out of the camp is because he is a smotherer and he's not a pressure fighter. So that wasn't gonna be. Wait, was Sean? No, wrong camp. Pardon me. But the point being is even if he would have had the fight with Madonna, it was called off. Thurman's fight was called off with Madonna. Sean isn't gonna give you that look for Madonna because Madonna's a pressure fighter. He's gonna close distance. He's gonna pressure you, right? Because he's always closing distance. Madonna is always closing distance. Madonna don't know how to walk backwards at all. He's like a fish. He can't go backwards. So Madonna's gonna close distance. He's gonna get you up on them ropes. He's gonna get you the way he wants you to get you boxed in the corner, get you boxed somewhere. Then he's gonna get his distance and he's gonna start just meleeing. What did Sean Porter do though? Sean Porter, he gets you in that situation that Madonna just got you in, and instead of getting distance to allow for him to be an effective, allow for him to have an effective attack, he's gonna even smother his own work. That's what he does. So I don't even see why. So I would see why, that wouldn't even be reason to have. I would think that the another reason in which why Sean Porter was on the second half of the work was because he wants to get tired first, and then he wants to be smothered after he's tired. So that's gonna, you know what I'm saying? So now when you get to the 6th, 7th round or the 6th, 7th round of the Madonna fight, when Madonna's fatigued, now you're already used to going against a guy who's fresh doing, similar things. Not the same thing because he's going to be smothering his own work or Madonna's going to get distance. So the fight's coming up, 25th. Got a lot of people picking Sean Porter. I did not think so many people was going to pick Sean Porter since he's not really a puncher. He's not a puncher. He's an attrition fighter. He's going to win by attrition. He's going to lean on you so much. He's going to rush you so much. He's going to keep you so off balance because of all the pressure that he does use while he's smothering himself in you that, he comes out on top. It's, except for with the Kell Brook fight. Kell Brook, straight professional. Kell Brook, every time he came in to try to smother his own work and Kell's work, Kell held on. That's what you do. There's two things you do against a fighter like Sean. Or there's two things you do against a pressure fighter, period. These two things are vital. You can do other things also, but these two things are vital against a pressure fighter. Now, the first thing is footwork. If you do not have footwork against a pressure fighter, you will get caught, you will get trapped, you will get the ring will get cut off. You have to have footwork. That's one. Footwork. Two, it also is footwork. You have to be able to step to the side and throw. Like a lot of boxers, when they're trying to avoid, I'm not going to say boxers because, professionals are professionals, but a lot of boxers, when they're trying to avoid, a lot of fighters, when they're trying to avoid an attack, pressure, or just an attack in general, a lot of people just step backwards. They just create more space. They get out of distance. You're fighting a guy like Sean Porter or Marcus Madonna. You can't just step backwards. You have to step to the side because if you step to the side, then there's gonna be punches there all night. You have to step to the side. You obviously it's not just stepping to the side. You have to be adept at it, but it's stepping to the side. You have to step to the side and allow for them to do whatever the hell that they're doing, and you're just gonna catch them. You're gonna catch them right off guard more times than you're not. Step to the side. Footwork. You have to get out of distance. You have to enforce. You have to control distance. Now, against a Marcus Madonna, controlling distance isn't too difficult because since he's always moving forwards, he's not really creating a situation in which way y'all are jousting. I call jousting when you got one guy feigning and the other guy feigning at the same time. If you want to see a good example of this, of jousting, you can watch the Floyd Mayweather Canelo fight. They were jousting. They were a lot of feints, A lot of feints, like especially early in the match, there were just a lot of feints before Floyd realized that he just throws a lot of feints. And then Floyd got a little bit more aggressive with it because he understood that he had to, force the action because Canelo isn't going to allow for you to force him to do anything. Canelo's going to fight Canelo's fight, and that's period. Canelo is stubborn. He's going to fight his fight. That's period. Whatever his fight, he's gonna fight that fight. He's not gonna allow for you the cause for him to fight something else. He's gonna fight his fight. Period. So I really haven't even really talked about the Thurman Porter fight. I'm talking about all this other stuff. Okay, so now you got the Thurman and the Porter fight. This is what I think is gonna happen. I think it's gonna be Thurman. He's gonna knock him out somewhere the 8th or the 9th round. I think Thurman is gonna put Porter on his ass because if a check hook from Adrian Broner can knock you down, you don't want to see anything from Keith Thurman. Not near punch. Nothing. Keith Thurman hits too hard. Now, with that being said, Sean Porter has some of the worst defense. Sean Porter's defense is getting so up on you that you can't throw a punch. He's going to stand out of range, and then he's going to look like he's doing double dutch. You ever seen the girls when they do double dutch, and they're like, trying to time the rope? That's what Sean Porter does. He's going to stand out of range when neither he can hit you and you can't hit him. Then he's going to do double dutch. And then he's going to try to catch you off guard. That's the majority of his offense and his defense. At times, he has decent head movement, but it's nothing to be. It's nothing to glorify. His head movement is nothing to glorify. He doesn't have Mike Tyson level head movement, but for the way that he fights, if they can improve his head movement, he'd be a much more dangerous fighter. If they could improve his head movement and teach him about distance. He needs a new trainer. He needs to keep Kenny Porter on as his conditioner, and that's it. He needs somebody else that could formulate strategy and teach fundamental basics. And when I say fundamental basics, I say that with the understanding that most of these fighters out there, they're just out there fighting. You got the guys that they want to be action heroes. That's what they want to be. They want to go out there, they want to slug. They're not really concerned with being able to speak comprehensively when they're in their 50s. It's not a concern of theirs. They're not really concerned with, being able to say complete sentences without stuttering in their 40s. This is not a concern of theirs. Their concern is hitting you more times and harder than you hit them before you knock them down. That's it. They're not concerned with anything else. Nothing else is of any concern to them. This is kind of how Porter fights. Defense is of no concern to him. Now, he has basic defensive skills of a professional fighter, yes, but it's not, his defensive skills are not on the elite level. Nowhere near. I just see a 8th or 9th round stoppage. I think Sean Porter is extremely tough. He's just a tough dude. Like, to have his limited boxing skills, to be as far in his career as he is, he's just tough. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that Kenny Porter's back there, and Kenny Porter knows how to put a battery in his son's back. But he's just tough. I see it as either the whooping is just going to be so bad that the refs are just going to it's going to just be too one-sided. This is the way I see it. I think first, second round, third round is going to be a filling out period. I think after the third round, I say fourth, fifth round, one time is just going to be just so confident. And between the fifth, 6th, 7th, and 8th rounds, he's just going to be tearing them up. It's just going to be ugly. That's what I see. And the worst part about this is, who's Sean Porter going to fight next? Which is funny because Garcia says, Danny Garcia says, he can't wait for the end of the Keith Thurman Sean Porter fight, and if Sean Porter wins, he's gonna fight Sean Porter. But if Keith Thurman wins, you're not gonna fight Keith Thurman? Like, do you understand how dangerous people consider Keith Thurman to be? They're throwing Sean Porter to the wolves. Just like with Kell Brook, they threw him to the wolves. Sean Porter needs a new coach. He needs a new trainer. He needs somebody that's going to say, look, Sean, I understand this is the way you've been doing things, but we're about to take 6-7 months off, and we can't change everything that you've been doing because you've been doing it for this way for so long. So this is just what you do. But what we're going to do is we're going to refine some of the things that you do. We're going to add some head movement rather than you just jumping in like it's double Dutch. We're going to put a little bit of head movement in there. We're going to have you change your head levels, not just left and right, but also up and down, We're going to have you change the levels. We're going to have the head movement. We're going to have you change your levels. We're going to stop throwing the wild punches. You're going to be thinking, we're going to teach you to set people up for that left hook. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're gonna teach you to set people up. Like, Sean Porter doesn't even set anybody up. Like, you gotta set somebody up. Sean Porter don't set nobody up. He does that one thing. He does a couple of other things, but he does that one thing that he's good at. And so I think it's gonna be a pretty one-sided fight. I think that after this, I think that Kenny Porter is such a strong personality that he's not going to allow for his son to lose but so much confidence after this loss. But this is going to be a confidence breaker. Because Keith Thurman hits hard. And if you're going to walk into punches, Keith Thurman is going to put them out there for you to walk into. These are facts. That's a fact. I mean, a lot of this stuff that I'm saying has to do with my opinion and my perception. Unless I mention specific stats, I'm often talking my opinion and my perception of what's going to happen or what has happened, the way I see it. But if you're going to walk into punches, Keith Thurman is going to have them out there to help you along the way. And that's facts. That's not opinion. That's facts. Another fact, Sean Porter walks into punches. Now, I would have so much funny shit to say about him, if not for the fact I like the dude. Every time I see him, when he gets dressed up, like, he's sharp. Like, he got the suit, the tie on, he's sharp. He out there. You know what I'm saying? His father talks all the time. He can't really get a word of edgewise, but when his father's not around and he can actually talk, it sounds like, he's a pretty cool personality. I think one of the reasons why his father doesn't let him talk, though, is because he just doesn't understand. His boxing, pardon me, I'm just so into basketball right now. The finals just happened. But his boxing acumen is so low that his father doesn't want him to expose himself. Because, Keith Thurman, he gives the best interviews. He analyzes the question. And then he gives a response in such a manner that even if he didn't answer your question, you really can't ask that same question again. He's good at this. Like, even if you ask Keith Thurman a question, and he'll give you an answer, and it won't have nothing to do with what you just asked him. It'll be on some other stuff. But he's giving you an answer that is detailed enough that you can't ask that same question again. He gives you an answer that most of the time, now you throw all of your other questions out the book, and now you're busy asking him questions based on the answer that he just gave you that wasn't even answering the question that you previously asked. Keith Thurman is a great interview. You could go into a Keith Thurman interview with one damn question. After he answers that question, then you can just ask him stuff about what he just answered. It's a great interview. But with Sean Porter, when you ask him a question, probably, unless he's prepared to answer that question, the beginning of his answer won't have nothing to do with the question. It'll just be some, it won't even be like a Keith Thurman, nothing to do with the question, where Keith Thurman is just saying, interesting stuff that got you like, wow, I didn't think about it like that. Well, Sean Porter's just going to be saying stuff like, this guy, does he speak English? Did he just hear what I said? And then he'll get around and he'll start answering and saying stuff that kind of answers the question, or kind of you get a feeling about what he thinks about, some of it. Sometimes it's just propaganda, like, what do you think you're gonna do to him in the fight? And then he'll probably start it off by saying, yeah, the fight is happening on Saturday, and I can't wait for the fight. I think it's gonna be 2 good boxers. It ain't shit to do with what you gonna do to him. And then after he says all that stuff, he's probably had a little bit to think, and then he'll say something like, well, my camp, we're gonna go to the body, or we're gonna, and everybody, just hold on one second. Collazo was the only person to hurt Keith Thurman to the body, so why am I seeing everywhere that all of a sudden now Porter's going to be going to the body and hurting? First of all, Porter isn't as skilled. Okay, he's younger than Collazo, but Collazo has been in wars. Collazo has muscle memory that Keith Thurman never had. Okay, just you got to understand, a lot of these boxers, they're punching off a muscle memory. It's muscle memory. You've did something 1,000,000 times. So when something happens, your muscles instantly reacts and does something else. Muscle memory. Collazo has muscle memory. That's why he was able to get that. I'm not even going to call it a lucky shot, because it looked like he set him up. It looked like he been setting him up. I've seen the fight about 5 times. Watch it again. Collazo had been setting him up for that and failing. And I don't even think Keith Thurman thought he was setting him up for that. I think Keith Thurman thought he was setting him up for something else. Because, Collazo's been in wars. Yes, he's old. Yes, he got whooped. Okay, even after. And Keith Thurman didn't go down. It's not like Keith Thurman got hit with that shot and went down. Keith Thurman got hit with that shot and stayed up on his feet. And then continued to outbox him on his back foot. So, anyway, I like ending all of these abruptly. That's basically what I think is going to happen in the fight. That's basically my opinions on the fight. I might drop another video before the fight, but I don't think that I will. I think what I am going to do, though, is I'm going to definitely be tweeting out. You could follow me on Twitter. My Twitter handle is The Spine Splitter, DASPINESPLITTA, The Spine Splitter. That's my Twitter handle. You can follow me on Twitter. And basically, what I think is going to happen is after the filling out period, Keith Thurman is just going to work him. I don't think Porter hits particularly hard. I think he just, he's just always there. When you got a guy that's always there, he doesn't necessarily have to hit you hard. It's attrition. He wears you down. He wins by attrition. He's in better condition than you. That's how he wins. That's how Sean Porter wins. I'm in better condition than you. I could run for longer than you could run. I could swing for longer than you can swing. I could swim for longer than you can swim. I could jump rope for longer than you could jump rope. I'm in better condition than you. That's how Sean Porter wins. How does Keith Thurman win? You're going to do something, and I'm going to outsmart you with some really, really hard punches that you're never going to see coming. I got Keith Thurman in the 8th or the 9th. I think it's going to be stopped. I think that Sean Porter's heart is too big, and I think that he's just too stubborn to be knocked out. I don't think he's going to be knocked out. I think he will continue to get up. But I think the ref is just going to say, we just can't have this. The ref is going to stop it. It's just going to be too bad. Anyway, this has been BBN, the Bronx Broadcasting Network. And check you later.